Back in the middle of the 15th century, the production of large-scale publications was made possible by the invention of the printing press by Gutenberg. It was the first media revolution. But now, another revolution is taking place. Now there are These trends raise a host of new questions. Why is big data happening now? What do consumers actually want and value in the big data world? What should companies do to capture the big data opportunity?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Eric Hazan. I'm a partner with McKinsey in Paris.
And I'm Philipp Nattermann. I'm a partner in our London office. And over the next 20 minutes or so, we'll try to answer some of the questions that were just raised in the video. The first question really is, what is all this big data? Where is it actually coming from? Well, fundamentally, it's every single transaction, every web session, every sensor, every social media interaction, scientific publication, video, phone, whatever you want to call it. The amazing thing about it is, given the explosion of devices, the amount of data, digital data in the world, has grown from about 100 exabytes in 2000 to about 1,200 exabytes this year. Now, what is an exabyte? I didn't know it before we started this conversation. It's about 4,000 times all the information in the US Library of Congress. And the amazing thing is 95% of that data is digital today versus about 20–25% in 2000. And we're only at the start of a revolution. If we look forward to 2020, what we'll see is the number of mobile subscribers will double to 10 billion. Most of them will have smartphones. Internet users will grow to 5 billion. And the digital information in the world, 800 exabytes in 2010, 1,200 today, will grow to 53 zettabytes by 2020. So the data is there, number one. Now, is this just a developed market phenomena, or is it actually broader? Well, if you take India as an example, this year, for the first time in April, mobile internet traffic exceeded desktop internet traffic in India as well as in other emerging economies. So what we're seeing is this is a global phenomenon that is happening, largely driven by the amount of devices available at much lower cost. But it's not just the amount of devices, but it's actually the computational power. Think back to 1969. The command module of the Apollo moon mission that placed a man on the moon, compare that to an iPhone, which most of us carry in our pockets today. The iPhone has about 1,000 times the computational power that the Apollo mission had, and it has about 130,000 times the memory that Apollo had in each and every one of our pockets. So we got the data, we got the computational power. What's the third thing? Well, it's the ability to actually store, access, and compress this data. And here again, technological advances have made this possible for the first time to actually, in a cost-efficient way, store all of this. So we have the data, we have the computational power, we have the way to store the stuff. None of that would be helpful if it wasn't actually possible to analyze it. And this is actually where one of the biggest breakthroughs has happened over the last few years to actually allow businesses of any size, large, small, to really mine the data, understand what is going on, be that predictive modeling, neural networks, or social network mapping, which has been around for a little bit longer. So it's all these elements together that actually make it happen now, and are the reason why it's happening now for the first time. So if you take all of this together, what is actually the difference then fundamentally between big data and what we had before? Well, first of all, it allows for massive amounts of experimentation in a real-time and sometimes even ahead of its time approach, rather than traditional one-shot lagging type of testing. Secondly, it allows us to mash up different types of data and actually get to behavioral and intent-based conversations and understanding of what the customers want rather than stated. And last but not least, it allows us to actually integrate all the data that we have in a single system. So therefore, big data is better, it's quicker, and it's cheaper. Now, Eric, the question I have is, what do consumers think about all this big data?
In fact, Philip, I think that consumers are actually helping. Let's talk about e-commerce. We know that there are some categories that are already gone to digital. There are these categories where research online and purchase online is very high, consumer electronics, books, and so on. But there are some counterintuitive categories, furniture, health and beauty, home decoration, footwear, that are now progressively shifting online, making basically this period a kind of second big bang on e-commerce. But there is more. Online research has become a major channel for shopping-related research. But now, what is really increasing is online research via mobile. There has been a 75% increase of online research before purchasing via mobile in the past 2 years, and reaching a level of 21% for Europe and 24% for the UK of internet users using their mobile before buying. And there is more than that. If you look at social networks are becoming a gateway to all other activities. They are the first place where we go to log in when we log in on our computer. They are the first place where we get access to content. And it's increasing very, very fast. 100 plus 162% between 2008 and 2011 on the place to get access to content. Which is basically completely changing the way companies are using the web to target and to communicate with their customers. Look at what happened on the French telecom market. French telecom operators basically were spending hundreds of millions of euros in terms of communication to get and acquire subscribers. What Free did when it launched, Free, the fourth mobile entrant in France, when it launched at the beginning of this year, they basically reached 3.2 million subscribers in 3 months with a huge buzz online, which is 30 times the buzz that was online when France lost its AAA note from the agencies. And basically, they didn't spend any penny. So that makes online community a highly cost-effective marketing channel. Now the web is, in fact, as we see, completely mirroring the offline world. And we have to segment differently the way we talk and reach our customer. We try to segment digital media consumption. And what we see is that online consumer is much more sophisticated than before. And of course, you cannot talk to someone who is downloading 4 times more video, like a video digerati, 21% of the online consumers, and to someone who is basically spending 84% time less on social network than the average, exactly the same way. So you have to de-average your marketing approach. We tried another segmentation. We try to segment people depending on their financial situation and their acceptance of targeted online ads. And look, the online buyers are apparently more well-off than the others, and they are also happier to be targeted online. There is more than that. 35% of them are happy to share any private data that they have as long as the targeting online ad is well done, but really well done. Basically, they see targeting as a service, and they even ready to pay for it in certain cases. So, it seems nice, but it seems difficult. What if we get wrong? What if we get lost in all these database, Philip?
I agree, it's not easy. And there's a real chance for people to make mistakes. But we think there are 5 key imperatives that each organization really needs to employ to take advantage of this massive opportunity. The first one is, there is a wealth of data out there, and most of it is free. We just have to start using it. The second one is, it applies to each and every organization, online, offline, on the individual level or on the aggregate level. The third one is, it actually changes the way we can make decisions, away from the traditional gut managerial way of making decisions to an actual fact-based and data-driven approach where we can trial again and again. To make that happen, number 4, we do need to change the way we manage our organizations. It does require a different approach. And number 5, most importantly, those companies that get it right not only will, but have already had a massive economic advantage relative to their competitors. Let's go through each of them in a little bit more detail to kind of give the examples. Let's talk about free data. Pick the random example. We figured we are in Europe. Greece just had an election. Looking at the economic crisis is probably as good an example as any. What we looked at here was simply the search intensity for various terms around the economic crisis. And unsurprisingly, as the situation has gotten worse, search intensity has increased. And it doesn't matter what social media, search portal, whatever you use, you get roughly the same performance. So much, so good. The impressive thing is that there's an 80% correlation between the search intensity and the yield of the government bonds of these distressed markets, which means 80% of the price movements you can actually now cast based on what's happening online. It's not bad for free data, I would say. Take another example. In the healthcare space, people can predict flu epidemics. If you look at the search intensity, we picked flu here, and it increases by 100% relative to the baseline, you have a 1 in 3 chance of actually catching the flu over the next 2 weeks. It's a predictive indicator that actually allows the health services, allows pharmaceutical companies to actually proactively respond based to what big data, what the overall populace is telling you. Now, you might say that's all interesting, but that's sort of, a bunch of consultants and it's kind of academic and so on, and nobody's actually really using it. Not quite. I'll give you one example. We have a couple of fast-moving consumer goods companies that, for product launches, actually track online search intensity and social media intensity around the new products to accurately predict the actual levels of sales. Again, what does that mean? Well, it allows them to ensure they have enough product at the right store, in the right color, or in the right size, whatever it is, meaning it enables lower cost and a better customer experience. That's a relatively small ticket item. What about bigger expenditures where it's actually worth spending money on? Let's take cars. If you look at cars in the US, car sales in the US, and it doesn't matter if it's Jeep, BMW, Nissan, and you look at the Google search trends, at the second week of the month, not at the end of the month, at the second week of the month, it's the best predictor there is for monthly car sales. So again, I'm a dealer, I can actually predict, which car am I most likely to sell and when. And the amazing thing about this is, if you look at it, over time, the search accuracy, or the predictive accuracy, will only increase as more and more consumers are actually participating in this.